Hey guys, Boak here, and I figured I'd do like a super basic guide slash walkthrough of ED2 Solos, where I'll just take you through a run I did recently and kind of tell you what I do and what I don't do when running this dungeon. And I am like by no means an expert. I've done a fair few runs, but nothing crazy, and this is not going to be like a perfect run or anything, but hopefully it can at least showcase some of the mechanics. And this is probably mainly aimed at people who have maybe done a few group runs but haven't yet started trying out solos and want to see what that's about. But also if you've never even entered the dungeon before, then hopefully at least you can kind of get a feel for how it is and how difficult it is. So as I said, this won't be super duper in depth, so my like gear and inventory I won't go too far into. Uh, Melee, mage, range, anything works, just the best gear you have. I'd recommend tier 80 plus probably, unless you want to have a rough time. You could probably get away with tier 70 if you know what you're doing, but I'd say tier 8 is kind of a good benchmark. Just super quickly, aura slot, anything works. I run Marjorat or Inspiration, Dark Magic, whatever is not on cooldown, that's up to you. The Wen book is super duper good here, since a lot of creeps stack up, so that's really useful. For ranged, I'd heavily recommend the mechanized Chinchompas for those stacked up mobs. Cinderbanes are great since everything is poisonable, and the inventory setup is pretty much standard. The one exception would be the acceleration power burst, which I'll get into more later, but other than that it's all pretty standard. So the first room here is the slime room, and this is actually one of the hardest rooms in the entire dungeon in my opinion. You need to kill 4 big slimes, but the problem is that they replicate when they hit you unless you stun, bind or root them. So if you're having trouble here, stuns, binds, roots, whatever you have is really good here. I soul split here, you can melee pray instead if you feel like you're taking too much damage, that's up to you. So once you've cleared 4 of those, you get into this room where you need to take out 4 red dragons. And here there's a pretty convenient Death Swiftness or Sunshine spot down along this wall that I like to use. So the idea is that if you put down your Death Swiftness or Sunshine anywhere along this wall, you'll be able to use it for these dragons here. And then when you run over, you can use it over here for those dragons as well. So that's the idea. So here we clear out the dragons. You can also clear out the straggler slimes if you want to, that's up to you. And then as you can see, when I get over here, I'm still affected by Death Swiftness, so that's really good. And then we take out dragons, do a couple really bad surges, and finish off the last one. And now we're getting into the Magma Golem bridge here, and this is also kind of a tricky spot for the first runs, because these guys do quite a bit of melee damage. You need to kill 4 of them. You can pray melee or soul split, whatever works best, and then just try to stack them up and AoE them as best as you can. Don't be afraid if you're going through a bit of food here in your early runs, because this is kind of a difficult part. And then we surge over, and here we need to kill this dragon here, and we also need to kill, I believe, 2 big slimes. So what you want to try to do here is move over here behind the dragon, so you can safe spot the slimes. I think I kind of screw it up here because I'm bad at the game, but I'm at least trying, so that's what counts. And then you AoE down the slimes, just try to kill a couple of them, and then get onto the dragon. And of course, Celestial Dragons, when the red message pops up, stun, bind, root, so they don't heal. And just clear it out. And then in this room we can also do the Death Swiftness and Sunshine kind of abuse, where if you put up a DS or Sunshine along this wall, you'll also be able to use it down here for the next dragons. So you need to kill all 3 dragons here, and I'll put up a Death Swiftness soon. And of course, if your DPS is super duper high, you don't need to do this, in case you can just clear these dragons in 1 second, but for us normal people this is pretty convenient. And then in this room here, you actually only need to kill one of these dragons, and I believe you need to kill this first one specifically. So that's why I always kill. It might work for the second guy, but I have some anecdotal evidence to suggest that it doesn't. So I always kill the first one. And as you can see, I'm still affected by Death Swiftness. And then we proceed, and in this room here, you also only need to kill one dragon. And again, I am pretty sure you need to kill this first specific one. Not 100% sure, but that's what's always worked for me, so that's what I do. And after this dragon, we have the first boss, but before then I'm gonna clear out some of the slimes so they don't follow me into the arena and mess things up. So here I kill the dragon and then switch back to chins and just AoE down the slimes and head into a Stellarn. I believe one slime gets through, yeah, so I just clear him out as well so he doesn't cause any issues. And then for a Stellar there are some very heated opinions on how to do this boss properly, let's say. So the idea here is that you need to think about the arena as if it's in 4 quadrants, and a Stellar is kind of stood along the middle line here. So you want to be in the middle, either here where I am to the north, or you can be to the east in the middle here, or to the south in the middle over here, or to the west in the middle. And some people believe very strongly in a specific spot. I know the PVM encyclopedia, they say that they recommend the west wall. Some people believe very strongly in the east wall. Me personally, I don't really care. I haven't seen much of a difference depending on which wall I'm stood next to, so I just kind of run in and stand at the north side because that's the closest. But you go with whatever wall you want to. But you'll see later on why it's important to be in the middle. And here we don't want to do super duper much damage early. We don't want to put down DS or Sunshine because like one auto after 200k she phases and you do super duper decreased damage. So what I like to do is put down a couple thresholds and then an SGB spec. And that should get her down, yeah, pretty far. And now she's going to phase and I start doing decreased damage. Then here you'll see we have 2 mechanics going on. Partially the rain spawns, and this is why you want to stand in the middle, because if the rain spawns here I want to be able to easily move over. And also the pulsar spawns, and you want to kill this once it spawns. So you see I move over and I kill the pulsar. And then this is a super important mechanic. This is like the main mechanic of the fight, this little blue bar beneath you. Once this is close to reaching 0, we want to move back into the middle, so that we're like between left and right here. So you'll see when this bar gets close to going down, I move over, I drop this wormhole, and then I move back out of the rain. And then very soon afterwards the neutron star spawns, and now we want to lure, this is going to follow you, so you try to lure this into the hole here to make it into a black hole. So what you want to do is like move over here and lure it in. Like this. And then this is why it's important that we place this wormhole in the middle, because now we can only damage a Stellarn if we're inside this white circle here. So for instance, if I would have placed this all the way over here and then we got rain in this quadrant, that would have been super duper uncomfortable. So we want to place it so that we can move left and right and still be within the white circle. Here I get lucky and the rain just moves away, so that's convenient. But here, just put down your Death Swiftness or Sunshine and full DPS and then you're done. I believe I get a pretty nasty SGB spec somewhere here. Around here? Yeah. And then just finish the boss and carry on. And in this room you kill those 2 dragons and then the barrier opens. And you'll see the slime start catching up to me. This won't matter too much, we're going to move away pretty quickly from them. But you can clear them out if you prefer. And then we move over here and we have to kill those 2 strike worms. The spiders on the right side of the screen, left side now, are going to probably attack you and they can deal quite a lot of damage, ranged base, so you can clear those out if you want to. I don't bother, but feel free. And the strike worms here, I should be using chins, I'm just bad at the game, but you can AoE them down. It is what it is. So you clear those out, and now this is where we get use for our acceleration power burst, because we have to travel pretty far here, so I like to drink the power burst and then just surge all the way over here. And here we have to kill a bunch of black dragons. We have to kill every single one, but fortunately they don't have a bunch of HP. And this is probably a good time to mention the Dragon Slayer perk, the Dragon Slayer ability, and being on a Dragon Slayer task. They all work and are very convenient, especially the Dragon Slayer task, but obviously you can't be on a task every single time. Also, if you're using ranged, the Dragon Bane arrows are absolutely busted here. They give you 30% increased damage, which is just insane, and that's why I'm bow camping whenever I'm hitting dragons. So we clear those out, and then there is going to be a good DS or sunshine spot over here as well that we want to use. So right around here, or maybe a few spots further west would have been preferable, but this should work as well. Around here you can put down your DS and you'll be able to hit you should be able to hit all the dragons from here. And as you can see, I just soul split camp throughout the entire dungeon. If you feel like you're taking too much mage damage, you can mage spray instead. This is kind of dependent on DPS. If you have high DPS, you're gonna heal more, so soul split is going to be preferable. If you have lower DPS, then mage spray might be better for you. So just experiment and see what works best. And here we skip the first 2 strike worms, we only need to kill the final 4. And another thing to mention, I kind of have a DPS approach where I try to go as quickly as possible. You see I'm spamming ECB spec and just trying to do as much damage as possible. But this is up to you. You can take it slow and like use defensives and make sure you're not going through too much food and staying safe. That's up to you. The more you run the dungeon, obviously the more comfortable you're gonna get. So don't be discouraged if your first runs are slow. That's totally normal. And now we're coming up on the second boss. I like to bank here. It is pretty much exactly halfway through the dungeon, so I like to bank and restock here. Feel free to pause here and look at my bank and laugh at me. But I just restock here and then we carry on. And for this boss, I mage spray all the way through. The mage photos hit for quite a lot, so I would recommend mage spraying. If you have great DPS, you could probably soul split. It's not something I do, but you might be able to. And this mechanic here is kind of an important one, and one that I don't do properly because I'm lazy and stupid and bad. But when you see this red message pop up, this message here, what you should be doing is shield switching and using resonance, because this is going to be a lot of free HP throughout the kill. So when this message pops up, Varrock stops attacking, so you can just shield switch and reso. And then the Spire spawns here, and once the Spire spawns, you need to kill it before you can damage Varrock again. So again, do what I say, not what I do, because I don't reso, but you should shield switch, reso, and then kill the Spire and get back on Varrock. And this is the second mechanic, the egg mechanic. There are 2 ways to do this. There is the proper way and there is my way. But this first one, I'm going to show you the proper way, which I would recommend for your first tries when you're learning. And then for the next egg mechanic later on, I'll show my way, which I would recommend once you're more comfortable. But the idea here is that an egg that's either blue or green is going to spawn. This one is blue. So then you move over to the square here and catch it. And then if it's blue, you take it to the green pile. If it's green, you take it to the blue pile. And that's it. So you see, I move over here, I grab the egg, put it into the green pile, and we're done. And here you can see I get hit by a pretty high melee auto. Those can hurt quite a lot, so I try to move away as far as I can while still being in DS here. So it goes back to mage autos, like so. And here, of course, shield switch Reso if you're good at the game. And this is the next mechanic, the Dragon Dive Bomb. You're going to see, it's going to show you a direction where you're going to get dive bombed. And this is very similar to the Vindicta Fire Row mechanic. So when you see this, I just start running away, and you're going to avoid it. You can wait until like the last second and run away. I just kind of run along and avoid it. So you see, there it goes, and you just avoid it. And as you can see, Varric has quite a lot of health, so this fight will take a lot longer than a Stellar, and that's fine. It can be a bit tricky with supplies when you're learning, but hopefully you're fine. And here we have the second egg coming up, and now I'm going to show my way, which is actually extremely simple. So what I should be doing here is moving over, grabbing this blue egg, and since it's blue, I bring it all the way over to the green pile, and then move all the way back and keep hitting. But I don't know about you, but that sounds like a lot of work, and I just kind of don't want to do that. So what I'm going to do instead is absolutely nothing. I'm just gonna let this egg hit the ground and see what happens. So I just stay on the boss, I see the egg about to hit the ground, I eat up, and I take 3.6k damage, which isn't too bad. If you think that's a lot, then don't do this, obviously, but if you think that's fine, then I would recommend this version instead, since you save a lot of time and effort. Oh, and I should also mention with the egg mechanic that this only really works in solos, because in group mode it scales per person who misses the egg. So if you're in a trio and 3 people miss the egg, then that's going to be like an 11k hit, so don't do it in groups. I know Marty gets kind of mad at me when I skip the egg in duos, so yeah, that's a side note. This here is the final mechanic, the fire tornado, so he's going to say let the flames, etc., and then he throws out this like square of flames, and if you stay in this it's going to hurt a lot. So what you do is just move away, you run or you search, anything's fine, and then the tornadoes will spawn and they will move around a little bit, but just make sure you stay clear. And that's the fight. And of course, if you're getting quick kills, you won't get the fire tornadoes at all, since they only happen at around 230, so if you're going fast you'll be fine. And here we do teleport option 4, so we go back to where we've been before. This dungeon is kind of wonky, but it is what it is. And we skip those first 2 dragons, we don't need to kill any of those. We just need to kill the 3 purple and 1 green over here. And they have the spike mechanic, which can be kind of scary. They will throw spikes towards you, and if you don't move, you'll get hit. And they have different effects. They can either do a bunch of damage, or they can decrease your anti-fire timer, which is really annoying. So I try to do this like camera from above and just avoid them as best as I can. go. And over here we only have to kill the 2 purple dragons next to the barrier to proceed. So as you can see, there's a bunch of mobs that I just ignore, because I'm showing the quote-unquote optimal way of doing this. But if you want to kill every mob and go around and explore and collect lore pages, etc., that's cool as well. I'm just showing you like the least amount of mobs you need to kill. So you clear those out, and then over here, this is a good spot to BD, if you have it, or nowadays maybe you can just use the normal dive ability. This was filmed on the day that the dive ability was released, so I didn't have it at this point. And as you can see with the spikes there, you can move away kind of late from the spikes and still be fine, so you get a bit of like extra time. And another important thing to mention here is that this barrier in the top left, this will either open if you kill 1 Hydrix dragon over here or 2 purple dragons over here. So for me, killing 1 Hydrix here is quicker than killing 2 purple guys over here. So I just kill 1 Hydrix here, search over, and I ignore those 2 entirely. And move over here, where you need to kill both of those purple ones to get to the final boss. And once you're done with those, you reach the final boss, Blackstone Dragon. This boss is a bit wonky. She attacks with mage, melee and ranged, and as far as I know, it's pretty much random, but it's mainly going to be mage autos, and those are the worst ones. So there are 2 prayer options. Either if you have good DPS, you use Soul Split Camp, that's what I do, humble brag. Or if you have lower DPS, then I would recommend mage praying, because the mage autos, as I said, are, from my experience, the most common and the most deadly. So that's your 2 options here. And I don't like DS or Sunshine at the start here, because BSD faces at 520k HP, so there's not a bunch of damage you need to do at the start. So I just take her down with thresholds, but that's up to you. And then this mechanic here is very important in the first phase. After a couple of autos, 3 maybe, she like rears her wings and throws out spikes, and spikes like we've seen before, but the difference is that these spikes hurt a lot, like they can KO you if you're not careful. I've been hit for upwards of 8k, so once you see this, you need to move away, and you see the spikes here, and I give them a very wide berth here, make sure I'm clear of them. And then we phase her down to 520k, and we'll go into the Black Hand phase. So you see BSD becomes unattackable, or undamageable at least, and the Black Hand spawn. And here, this specific tile that I'm standing on is pretty important. You need to be on this tile, or I believe maybe 1 tile down here on the blue works as well, but I always use this tile, like right above the blue diamond. Because the Black Hands have 2 different attacks. Partially, they do these black clouds that hit with mage, and they hit quite hard, but they're okay as long as you mage pray. But they also have like a special attack where a bunch of hands are going to spawn on the floor and follow you, or like track towards you. And if you stand on this tile, you will be safe. If you don't, then they'll do a lot of damage. So that's why we stand on this tile. And you can see that special attack here. Those hands, they look like they're gonna hit you, but if you're on this tile, you're totally safe. So just play it cool. And Soul Split whenever you're not getting hit with the black smoke, and Mage Pray when the black smoke is getting close. And as you can see here, the attack, like the damage, is kind of delayed by a tick on the black smoke, because here it looks like the black smoke has actually hit me, but it's not going to be until now that it actually hits, so make sure you stay on Mage Pray until the damage has actually come through. here I mess up and I accidentally turn off my DPS prayer. I'm not sure how that happened, but that is not like a pro level strat, that's just me being bad at the game. So that's kinda going to fuck up this kill time, but that's okay, we're not speedrunning anyway. And obviously on this side, you stand on the same tile again and you'll be safe. And when the last hand dies, BSD will be attackable again, and the next phase HP will be at 260k, which is pretty easy to remember since the first phase HP is at 520, and then the next phase HP is exactly half of that at 260. So we wanna DPS her down to 260. Here there will be a few autos, and then there will be a fire circle mechanic, which is pretty important to figure out. So now you see BSD has stopped attacking me and started doing the fire circle mechanic. So you will not get hit by BSD at all during this mechanic, so you can soul split freely here. And this fire hurts quite a lot if you get hit by it. It's around 3.5k per tick, I believe. So it's going to come first like in a big circle, and then a smaller circle, and then just like circle into BSD. So what I like to do is I stand close to BSD for the first lap, so the fire goes outside here. And then once it's gone past the first time, I like to move out so that it goes inside for the second time. So you see, I move out, fire goes inside, and I'm totally safe. And then just keep DPSing down. There will be another mechanic coming up here very soon. Right here, where BSD like throws away a magic bomb usually it's off to the side, and even if it does hit you, it's not a big hit, but it's mage based. And then here at 260k, we face it again. We go into the by far the worst phase of the boss fight, where BSD just kind of flies around for 45 seconds, and there's nothing you can do, and you just run around and avoid the fire. And this is just bad game design. There is actually a way to skip this mechanic if you know what you're doing. It's really difficult and you need very good gear, but it is possible. The RS guy has a video about how to do it. I'll link it in the description if anyone's curious. But yeah, when you're starting out, that's not something you're gonna aim for, but it's cool to know that it's possible. And BSD will do 7 landings here, and on the 7th landing she will be attackable again, and we should have number 7 coming up here. And then you just DPS. And here there is an annoying mechanic. You'll see this fire here, this is actually tracking towards me. So if I just stand still here, this fire is going to catch me and I will die. So it doesn't track you for super long, but here at the start you need to kind of, when it gets close, move away and make sure it doesn't catch up to you. And here you see it's stopped tracking me, so here I'll be safe. And we have the fire circle again. Same idea as last time, I stand inside for the first lap, and once that's gone through, I will eventually move out, so I'm outside for the second lap, like so. And then we just DPS the boss. A few mechanics will repeat here. We will have the mage bomb coming up here in a second, and then we will eventually get the spikes from P1 again. So that's the mage bomb. And here are the spikes again, rears our wings, we move away so we don't get hit, we kill the boss, and we're good at the game. And that's the entire dungeon. So as I said, I run this dungeon quite a lot at the moment, so if you ever see me online and you want to do group runs, or you want some kind of coaching or help with solos or anything, I'm most likely available, so just hit me up and I'll be glad to help you out. And that's all I had for now. Hope this was helpful to at least someone, maybe, perhaps. And I'll see you guys later. Bye bye.